the only baseball you want to be watching related to the Cardinals right now. It's pretty tough, man. Just got swept by Cincinnati. You had your three best starters on the mound in the series, and all three of them got destroyed. Your offense looked horrible once again. Really had no life in this team, and I don't really know what to say at this point. I mean, I'm one of the biggest. I've been one of the bigger optimists about this team. At the end of the day, like there's nothing that they're doing right now that gives you optimism that they're going to turn it around. Mathematically, sure, they're in it because they're only a few games back, and theoretically that stuff could happen, but I'm not going to try to tell anyone today they should believe that because I don't believe that, right? I mean, we've seen we've seen this team come back from worse. As bad as it feels right now, it was worse on May 11th. It was. But it's not that far off anymore. They're trending toward it. Bullpen's just not there anymore. The rotation's been horrible lately. The lineup is cooked as per usual. I've got some percentile rankings I'd like to run by you in a little bit because it's absolutely wild how bad they are with runners in scoring position. But I'm just going to ask you. I've kind of alluded in my answer, but Andrew, are the Cardinals done?
I think so. You looked at the first half, and the first half was great, right? Like you went on that run following Mother's Day, and you were the best team in the National League. And there were a lot of questions even after that. And it was like, can the team sustain the horrible run differential that it's had? And it's like they're playing a lot of really close games, and they need the bullpen to basically not make any mistakes. And they did towards the start of the second half. And like this series, the bullpen didn't really have a chance to make those kinds of mistakes. But you think about some of the losses earlier in the last couple of weeks. That game against the Cubs comes to mind. You beat Imanaga, and then you have Helsley go with a 2-run lead into the 9th inning, and you feel pretty good. And then he blows the game, and they walk it off, and it's over just like that. And there's been a few games like that. The game against the Royals, the second game, you had a pretty good lead, and then the bullpen just completely collapses, and it's like you don't even have a chance to win that game anymore. And it's happened more times in the last couple of weeks than probably the entirety of the first half. Like maybe the first like couple of weeks of the season it happened once or twice, but like I still think the bullpen was not really the issue. And I think it just like you look at all the metrics, you look at what has been going on, and just kind of the team playing back down to its expected numbers, right? And you were banking on the team to offensively get a little bit hot, have some of those bats you're relying on, Nootbaar, Gorman, Goldschmidt, Arenado, whoever to get the bats going. And that's the only hope you had of maintaining the success you had in the first half. And it just hasn't happened. And you're seeing the pitching do what it's expected to do with the run differential as bad as it's been. You got swept by a team. The Reds didn't even make you look competitive at any point during the series, right? You had like a 1-run lead in the first 2 games and then immediately gave it back. Like you just didn't look like you were even close to a team that's been in last place for a lot of the season. Like it's just not good at all. So I don't, unless we've been saying it since March, like if the offense can do what it's supposed to do, if the hitters can do what they're meant to do, then yeah, you can make a run. Like you can convince me that with this lineup at its full potential, it can go on a run, but it just hasn't shown me that. And it's August 14th. There's like 40 games left in the season and time is run out. I think it's over.
Yeah, it's horrible. I was reflecting on because we gave what did we give Mo this past grades? A or a B?
Yeah.
And I think I would say today it's a C or maybe even a D, but I'd say probably a C because I think what they did with the bullpen, what they did with the bullpen was great this offseason. What they did with the rotation is not slowly, it's been deteriorating. Like the Gibson is not been good lately. So like that does not look at like Gibson Lynn's stuff does not look good. I know Sonny Gray has not been good enough this year, but everything about his profile says he's better than what the ERA says. And so I still love that signing. But I feel like he did just enough if this offense is good, like many of us expect it to be. So I don't blame Mozeliak for the offensive struggles because even if like there were some people that said the offense wasn't going to be good this year, and I strongly disagree with that. I thought it was going to be a top 10 unit. But like it wasn't crazy to say, hey, they could be like 14th, 15th ranked. And like right now they're taking like 19th, 20th ranked. So it's not like they're super far off that. But Andrew, tell me if you expected any of this. So there have been 1,438, so 1,438 teams, individual seasons that have been played since 1924. So like that's every Cardinal season, every Cub season. That makes sense. So every season, every team that's played a season, there's been
Yeah.
100 test case of 1,438 teams. The Cardinals are the 44th worst out of 1,438 teams with in batting average for opponent's scoring position. That means 97% of teams that have played since 1924 have a better batting average with runners in scoring position. They are 44th ranked in slug as well. So 97% of the teams that have played in the last 100 years have a better slugging percentage with runners in scoring position. They are the 13th worst team of all time in the last 100 years in OPS with runners in scoring position. That means that 99.1% of the teams that have ever played since 1924 were better with runners in scoring position than this Cardinal team.
And Turner Ward still has a job.
Yeah, that part to me baffles me. I think if there's one thing that you could retroactively say they could have done in the season that they didn't do was that they should have fired Ward back in May when it was falling apart, and they didn't. And then we got hot, and so it's like, okay, you're not going to move on from Mo, even though, or not Mo, Turner Ward, even though you could have done it at any moment. I don't think it upsets any fans at all. It's kind of funny to hear all these stories of like Ryan Ludwig helping hitters out, and then you see hitters come to St. Louis and they fall apart. And I think that's a fair thing to be like it's a real thing. Like all these prospects and young players are finding ways to figure out their swings again. And again, some of that's because they're facing minor league pitching. So like it's also part of the equation. But like without fail, it feels like every player that gets up to St. Louis maybe starts off hot, kind of is good for a little bit for a year or two and then kind of declines. And like Nootbaar hasn't been as good. Donovan hasn't been as good. Like Donovan's a good player still because of the defense and stuff. And his offense hasn't been bad, but it's regressed. Walker's regressed. Gorm's obviously regressed. Like at some point you gotta like Turner Ward. I don't know why they still have him. I don't know if they would make the change at this point anyways. The Oli side of things, I'm not in the fire Oli camp like a lot of people are. Because I do think a lot of the issues that this team has, just like it doesn't like Mike Schilt got fired. I mean, Mike Matheny, I didn't think he was a good manager, but like people think Schilt was good and got fired, and I don't think the Cardinals would be any different of a spot if Mike Schilt was their manager right now. I don't think if you put Terry Francona on this team that it's all that much better, if I'm being honest. I think there has to be changes closer to the top of the organization before things really change. So I don't necessarily blame the Cardinals front office for the offensive struggles this year, but systemically, everything that's led to this moment, they have to take the blame for, right? And they tried to do enough this offseason to patchwork it. And again, like for as optimistic as I've been, and I know that in general our podcast tends to be a little more optimistic than people would always like us to be at times. Like I don't think any of us are trying to sell anyone on this being a World Series contender outside of some random conversations we'd have about if everything breaks the right way and because the National League is so bad, theoretically any team can go the world and go and win the World Series. Like that was the only argument we'd ever make. We were like, this team could get back to the playoffs and maybe win a playoff series. That was our expectations. And honestly, I think we've all admitted we don't like that that's the expectations of the Cardinals anymore. I think we realistically said within the budget that the DeWitts are going to give John Mozeliak with the systemic issues over the years. Like he can't go back and undo the Marcell Ozuna trade. So he can't just have Zach Gallen back. Like all this stuff, like that's in the past. What could he do in one offseason realistically? I mean, sure, they could have done Chris Sale. There's stuff like that we can rip on him for. But realistically, the thing that they could have done is get back to being a playoff team. I was like, okay, I see it. I think they did the right things. And then the offense just totally crapped the bed. Like, again, overall, the mess the Cardinals are in is squarely on ownership, front office, then coaching. But I honestly, if I'm thinking like specifically a microcosm of this season, I'm pointing at Paul Goldschmidt. I'm pointing at Nolan Arenado. I'm pointing at Lars Nootbaar. I'm pointing at Nolan Gorman. And kind of Brendan Donovan. I'm kind of pointing at Tommy Edman for never playing a single game for them. I'm pointing at the the lineup and saying, like, what you were supposed to be better than this. Nolan and Goldie, you're paid a lot of money to be really good players, and you're borderline unplayable sometimes. Gorm, like it's like you're gonna have to set the MLB record, single season record for strikeout percentage at this point. That's horrible. Lars Nootbaar, like what the heck? I do think there's some people saying I'm not going to hold the front office accountable. We've said this multiple times in the podcast. We think there should be leadership changes this offseason, even if they make the playoffs. Like, I think we've been pretty clear we want to be Heim Bloom and the under Heim Bloom leadership this offseason. And I do think to get into the conversation in just a second here, I do think there needs to be leadership changes offseason. I think it's time for Mo to go. I think his voice has gone stale. I'm not in the room, and neither are, like, most of us don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. So that's why I'm hesitant to say like this is his fault, that's his fault, whatever. It clearly, though, his leadership needs to be over with. And 2011 to 2015 was a special era of Cardinal baseball, and John Mozeliak oversaw that. He deserves all the credit in the world for that. But 2016 since, so the last 9 seasons, it's been bad. Like they are like, I think like 2-13 or something in the playoffs over that stretch. They've won 1 playoff series, I believe, as the NLDS against the Braves. I don't know what you do anymore. Like, I think it's time for some changes. So obviously we can't you can't change ownership. So like I don't think that's a great conversation other than maybe talking about what they could do differently. But I mean, are you kind of in that boat too? That it's time to see John Mozeliak go? And like again, realistically,
Yeah, not like tomorrow. Like there's nothing he can do tomorrow. Like the trade deadline is passed. Like
that's not going to happen. So we're talking like move into a different role. Like that's
yeah. One thing I do want to note is that I think a lot of us are kind of clouded by 2022 and kind of looking to that as like, oh, look at the success we had at that point. And I think the front office might be looking towards that as well, because they're trying to bring in all these veteran leaders and whatnot to try to replicate what happened in 2022. But I think Albert Pujols, like the effect that he had on the organization in 2022 is a lot greater than we're giving it credit for, right? Because you had Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado have career years in 2022. Both of them finished top 3 in MVP voting with Pujols in the clubhouse. But you look at the rest of their seasons in St. Louis, and they're all below career norms, right? Like Paul Goldschmidt, you look at his seasons aside from 2022, you remove that from the equation. Each one of his seasons has been less than his, like in pretty much every category than his time with Arizona. And same with Arenado with Colorado. Like both of them had the best year of their career in 2022 with Albert Pujols around, probably giving some of the leadership. And Pujols, you saw what he did to guys like Juan Yepes, who had a really good year in 2022 and kind of fell off last year. And I mean, can you bring a guy like that back? Because like you have a guy that with the Angels organization, Mike Trout largely credits for a lot of his development, for mentoring him a lot of the way. And there was like a point in 2021 where Shohei Ohtani during the home run derby was calling one of his teammates, and everyone's like, oh, he's calling Mike Trout, but he was calling Albert Pujols. Like it seems like a guy that can bring a lot of leadership. I don't know if he would be open to that, but I think that's something that we should consider, right? Having that presence around. And instead of trying to look for that in like Matt Carpenter or Brandon Crawford or whoever, like stop playing that route. And like maybe, I don't know. Like
it's also fair to note too, Pujols was basically prime Pujols again that year too. So it was his leadership. It was also I'm
talking about like Pujols playing to his prime like standards in the second half didn't make Paul Goldschmidt win an MVP. That's not.
I think that helps having a third bat in the lineup like that, though. But I do agree. I think I wasn't denouncing your point, but I think it's also worth noting it wasn't just that they had his veteran leadership. It was also that was his best season since he left St. Louis. Like it was his OPS that year was only a little bit less than 2011. Like I think he was prime Pujols again.
I think the only like great offensive season we've had in the last like 6 or 7 years that wasn't from like a already prominent superstar like Goldie and Arenado, which were like lower than their career norms, like just by far, was probably 2021 Tyler O'Neill. That's probably the only one I can think of that was like truly like a great offensive season from a not like established superstar.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's really frustrating because you look at the lineup that we have, like Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, none of those guys have had that kind of season. And I guarantee you trade Nolan Gorman to a different team that's not like incompetent, like the White Sox or the A's or the Angels, and probably becomes a perennial all-star.
Yeah, it feels like that for sure, and that's something that needs to be figured out too. Before we dive super into that conversation, just a reminder: if you're watching now, it helps a ton if you like the stream. So we really appreciate that, and subscribe if this is your first time watching as well. We'd also like to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, is 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. 314 is located on 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet, and they're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. So if you're interested in buying cards, selling, trading sports cards, and Pokemon cards, you can find those at 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. Andrew just snagged that two-way Mason win card from them recently. So if you're into cards, that's a great place to go check things out. You can follow their Instagram; they're really active over there, so that's a great place to figure out some of the deals and new stuff they've got going on. But yeah, if you're interested in collecting cards, whether Pokemon, baseball, or other sports cards and collectibles, definitely go check out 314 and tell them that you found out about them through us, or that we even prompted you if you already knew about them. But yeah, we'd love if you check them out; they're really awesome. Um, but again, back to something that's not really awesome and something you don't really feel like checking out right now, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, outside of this, they're said it earlier. I'm not going to say it again because we don't need to after this, but like, yes, it's theoretically possible that they could get into the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, it could turn around, but there's no reasons to believe that, right? There's nothing. The bullpen doesn't look good enough right now. The rotation doesn't look good enough. The the offense doesn't look good enough. There's no reason to believe that's going to happen. But so, assuming though that they're on a downward trajectory, also this series they just got swept by, um, they just got swept by the Reds, and now they have to go face the Dodgers, and then they have, I can't remember what order, but they have the Dodgers, the Brewers,
The
the
Brewers and the
Twins,
Padres.
and the Padres. So I mean, if you're playing like this now against the Reds, I mean, we honestly might see an 8, 9, 10 game losing streak like we did in May. So maybe it does get to that point. I'm not ruling that out. It's not there
Yeah.
yet. Um, yeah, Jonathan, you're right. If Bernie hopped in, this stream would probably go wild. It was super fun to have him on that one time or a couple weeks ago, and we'll probably have him on again soon. But I mean, if he's listening and he wants to hop on, we would take Bernie on. So maybe if you're in the if you're watching now and want Bernie to come on, maybe tweet at him. It's too hard to do that multitask on here, so I want to keep the stream going. But if people want to tweet at him and see if he'll come on, let him know that we're down to have him hop on if he wants to rant. Um, Oh boy. But so okay, like we kind of started dabbling into it, but clearly it seems like Mo needs to go. It seems like Heim Bloom's the next guy. I
What if
guess
it's not, though? What if he doesn't want to step into this mess?
yeah. I mean, he could not. That is potential. I do think he would though. I don't think he's doing all this project. I think by this point he would know if he doesn't want to, and I think they would start leaving breadcrumbs that he's not the guy. Like I think, I don't know. That's just me personally. I'm not saying it's for sure is going to do it, but I do think Bloom would be the guy. I do think maybe there's a chance that like, because I think in my head I'm assuming Mo's going to fully step back this next year and just maybe do the Jupiter project, kind of like Jeff Jones said, and do something like that. But like, there is a chance maybe he does more of the David Stearns of the Brewers last year, where he like is there still, and the new guys in charge, but like David Stern still has influence. Like maybe there's that because maybe Bloom doesn't want to fully step into it yet, or if it's Gersh or Flores, or maybe they go outside the organization and do something else. But one thing I do want to kind of bounce off you though is how significant or how much interest do you think Cardinal fans would have back in this team just simply from changing who's in charge? Like,
Like, not much.
does you see? Okay, so you think the change itself doesn't really do much?
We're not going to the ballpark to see Heim Bloom. Like, he
True.
doesn't, like, I don't think, yeah, I mean, unless, yeah, I think it depends on, like, what moves he makes. Like, we said at this offseason, right? Like, I think DeWitt made comments that, like, he wanted to get more fans at the ballpark. And honestly, like, Sonny Gray, I don't know how much, like, a fan I am of that signing currently. I think the metrics are a lot better than he's performed. But just sometimes it's just so frustrating watching him spiral and give up a homer, and then he gives up like two more, and it's like I don't really know what to do with that. Like, he's great, that's fine. Like, let's shelve that for a minute. The rest of the acquisitions that he's bringing in, right? Like, I don't think they're all that exciting, right? I think really if DeWitt wants to bring in more fans to the ballpark, he needs to open his wallet a little bit and just pay up for some of those like really exciting names, right? Like, I don't think Dylan Cease is like much more of like a better pitcher than Sonny Gray. The results are kind of similar, but if he had swung this big trade like that, then yeah, I think people would have been a little bit more excited, because that's what people pay to see. They pay to see like big strikeout pitchers, sluggers that hit a bunch of home runs, and they kind of didn't bring any of those guys in. They brought a lot of pitch to contact, kind of like traditional Cardinal way kind of guys, and that's gotten old, right? Like, I'm not saying that Sonny Gray is bad. I'm excited to watch him pitch on Sunday, but like, it's not the kind of moves that are like the most like exciting. Like, you can go and chase after those big free agents, and you can do it smartly, right? Like, you don't have to target David Price or Giancarlo Stanton. Like, those have aged poorly, but there's guys that you can more intelligently go and pick and choose after that will get you both a good team and a lot of fans coming to the ballpark. And I guess it depends on what Bloom does, right? Like, if he makes more of those like fringe kind of moves that the Red Sox were doing, and now look what the Red Sox have. Like, they kind of played the long game, and now they do have a bunch of exciting names that maybe weren't exciting when you brought them in. So maybe you could go that route. But I don't think Bloom alone will get you what you want in terms of like ticket sales or any of that, which I think they're pretty concerned about, because ticket sales and like TV ratings have been at an all-time low this year.
Yeah, I think I think a good analogy to potentially think of, because I think there's some people that like are thinking that this is just kind of the beginning of the end for the Cardinals' interest in St. Louis, and that it just will never be the same again. A good, I think, baseball town comparison is how Philadelphia kind of treated the Phillies for a while in the 2010s. That after 2011, I think it was basically a full decade between. Yeah, it was. 2022 was the first time that the Phillies had made the playoffs since 2011, and if you kind of like follow that team, like just the city and fans just really weren't interested in the Phillies anymore. They just weren't a likable team. They weren't really fun. They didn't really have a star. And then they went out and brought in Bryce Harper, and it changed everything. Like, people got super excited. It's a fun personality to latch onto. He was a winning player. He helped them get to the playoffs. I think you're right that I don't like, some people are going to say, unless they spend a ton of money in terms of like their payroll goes up, no one's going to be interested. I don't think that's exactly true. I think their payroll could be the same, but if you take that $35 million away from Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado and you replace it with I'm trying to think, like Mookie Betts or Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt Jr., like those kind of players, like the fans, I think, will come to the park. And you also have to surround them with a good team, right? Like, if they signed Juan Soto this offseason, but the pitching staff was in shambles, I don't think people are just going to come because Juan Soto's there. I think they gotta surround it with a good team still too. I am interested to see, like, I mean, you got JJ Weatherholt may hopefully come in at some point, like in the next few years. You've got the Tink Hens, Quinn Matthews side of things. You know, you've got some young talent to come. It's not enough though.
I don't have any faith in I'm sorry, I understand the hype behind Weatherholt, but right now I don't have any faith in the organization to develop him into because like, you look at like, who have they developed recently that have, like, Sandy and I had this conversation the other night where
they have not had a guy like that though. Dylan Carlson.
Well, Weatherholt's like what, the 19th ranked prospect in baseball?
Upon being drafted like that, they haven't had a guy like that. They've had guys that have like, oh, they look really interesting in the system, they develop more, and then like, oh, I guess this guy is a top 20 prospect in baseball. This is a guy that like upon arrival is viewed like that. It's a different tier of player, in my opinion.
Well, like, it's kind of the same conversation where it's like, oh, we haven't had a prospect like Carlson since Pujols. Oh, we haven't had a prospect like Walker since Pujols. It's like, oh, we haven't had a prospect like Weatherholt. And it's like, well, I don't know.
I think that's different though, because I think like, even if Dylan Carlson's the best prospect they've had since Pujols, that doesn't mean he's Pujols. It just means he's the best one they've had since then. I think there could end up being, I'm not saying today it's for sure, but there could end up being an argument by the time JJ's like close MLB ready that he is the best. He would top those guys as the best prospect they've had.
Was Walker not the number one prospect in baseball?
Well, it depends on the outlet. He was never like he was never universally seen as that, but he was pretty much a top 5 prospect going into that year. Some outlets had him 1, had him 3. I think a lot of them had him graduate to number 1 because the guys ahead of him graduated before he graduated the list. But I think JJ's a different kind of player. But again, he's not like, I mean, he could be a superstar. Who knows? Like, a lot of people could be superstars, but he's probably not like, I don't know. I do think he's a different tier prospect. I think he's one that I'm pretty confident in. And also because even if Mo isn't done after this season, I'm like 1,000% sure he's done after next season. And so there will be a different leadership and a different structure, you would think, who are going to be overseeing some of this stuff. So um, I think personally, I will be really interested to see different leadership because who knows? Like, even if Heim Bloom goes out and say he signs a couple starters that aren't super exciting, but it's like, well, like, what does Heim see in them? Because like at this point, I don't like this offseason. I was trying to convince myself that what Mo saw in Gibson and Lynn was that, oh, these guys can give me 6 innings and give up 4 earned runs. Like, it's not like I was trying to tell people like this could work. I wasn't trying to say be excited about watching Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, but like if I'm trying to think of like a random pitcher right now, but if Bloom goes out and get a guy, I'm going to be interested. So I'm like, what did he see in him? Like, what could this guy be? Like, I don't or that kind of like I'm just interested to see stuff like that. Or I'm interested to see like, okay, maybe Mo didn't want to trade Newt and Gorman and all these guys, but maybe Bloom is fine with it. Maybe Bloom would make an aggressive trade. I just don't
Right.
know.
I
And then
mean,
also I do think there's a difference between Boston and St. Louis because Boston was super weird and changes course all the freaking time. They just like they're all in and then they're all out. They're all in, they're all out. And I don't think St. Louis is gonna make I don't think St. Louis would ever make a guy like Bloom trade away Mookie Betts in his prime. I don't think they would do that. I think they would be willing to go make moves that Boston wasn't oddly enough. And so I think Bloom's actually a better fit in a market like this than Boston. But to your point, it's like just because he's there doesn't necessarily mean fans are gonna come back to the ballpark. I'm just saying I will have a different renewed interest because of that. And I just feel
yeah.
I'd be excited to see something different. Like even if it doesn't end up like even if they're bad next year, I'm like, okay, well, there's a new vision, there's a plan that's different. Like just the idea of something being different for the first time in basically 20 years of this organization, I think matters.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, like, I won't be excited. It's just, like, it's not gonna
Oh
get
yeah, I knew you were
fan
saying
base
that.
excited. Like,
Are you sure? Like
one example.
I think there's people who are asking for that. I'm
Right.
not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to like talk it out more because I think there's people who are like blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. We just want to blow it up. And I'm like, okay, what if
Doesn't
they
make
kind
sense
of
to blow it
do?
up.
But yeah, not trade everyone, but like how about this blow it up? Is you let Goldie walk, you have Bloom, maybe it's a new manager, and you try to trade Nato. Like that is kind of blowing it up. Like
Yeah.
it's not a rebuild, but it's not necessarily a retool either. It's something in between. Like I kind of could see how fans are like, oh man, like we've got the young guys here. We are like this year the Cardinals were convinced like their mantra wasn't, hey, we're gonna miss the playoffs again, right? They were saying, hey, we're gonna try and get back in. If Bloom's thing is, hey, we've got to kind of tear this down the studs a little bit, and we're like he comes in is like, hey, I see like I can envision an introductory press conference where it's like we are not playing Cardinal baseball anymore. We need to get back to play. We need to get back to being the class of the National League. And so what this is going to require, and he lays out a plan. And he might not necessarily say we're going to be bad, but you kind of know, okay, we're going to have to take a couple steps back to take steps forward. I think fans could be interested in something like that because you're at least like, oh, I see a vision here rather than every single year. It feels like they're kind of plugging holes to try and get back to 88, 90 wins and just kind of scrape by. Instead, it's like, hey, we want to build something sustainable and good again, like we saw in the past. I don't know. This is like if that kind of thing happens this offseason, do you think that can interest fans? If you disagree, that's fine.
No,
I'm
I
curious. Like,
think it will. It's just, like, in terms of, like, the moves they made this season, when everyone was, like, screaming for pitching and, like, Sonny Gray was their big signing, and we were excited for that. Like, I think the organization kinda knew that no one was really gonna be, like, that excited for that because I've explored the team stores and, like, the onlines and stuff, and, like, I haven't seen a single Sonny Gray jersey for sale. Like, you have to custom make one
mm,
on those sites, and, like, a lot of these teams make signings and, like, they're immediately, like, selling merchandise and stuff, and it's like, when we got Arenado, like, that's kind of how it was. Like, Arenado jerseys, like, people were pre-ordering them and, like, really excited for them, and no one was going out there getting stuff for, like, Sonny Gray, and, like, you can kinda tell, right? Like, I think you need to do more than, like, Bloom can say whatever he wants at his introductory press conference, and I'll be excited and be like, "Yeah, I'm more hopeful than I would be under Mo," but, like, he hasn't made a move yet. Like, he hasn't done anything,
yeah,
meaningful, and, like, until he does that, then, like, yeah, if you can somehow swing a trade and, like, fleece the team for, like, a superstar player like you did like Mo did all those years ago, then yeah, sure. I'm sure people will get excited for that, but ugh, I really don't know how it's going to happen unless you just spend money, and you have to spend money the right way. obviously, not spend it just to spend it, but like you can't like the rhetoric that the DeWitts have for next year where it's like we're going to cut payroll or we're not going to like maybe increase payroll by as much and like people need to come to the games. It's like you know you have to spend money to make money, right? Like the Dodgers are making so much more money now than they did last year. And those investments that they made were probably worth it, right? Like look at all the marketing that they're getting just because they spent money on like 2 or 3 superstar level players. And like I don't think the Cardinals are necessarily going to do that, but like maybe do one, maybe like trade for another one. Like I don't know. Like there's moves you can do, and it's not that difficult.
I I think we can move on from the Mo thing in just a second because I think we
Yeah.
can talk about people have opinions about Ollie and Turner Ward. I think that's fair, and then also the players. There's a comment though that I just don't think is. I don't think it's right to say that. So Jay Nichols says Mo turned us from the class of the NL to average since he took over. He lacks elite moves to take us to the top. Okay, John Mozeliak took over after the 2007 season, so 2008. That's so 3 years after that, they won the World Series. I get Walt Jocketty made some of those moves, but I don't think it's fair to say that was all Walt Jocketty at all. Um, it was definitely a John Mozeliak and Jeff Lunau project as much more than at least as much, if not probably more than than Walt Jocketty. And then 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, they won more playoff games than any other team in baseball, and they played like 20 more playoff games than any other team in baseball. Obviously, the Giants won 3 World Series in that stretch, while the Cardinals only won 1, so they were the better team in that stretch. But every year they didn't win the World Series, they like missed the playoffs and were bad. Like the Cardinals every single year were in the NLCS from 2011 to 2014. Then 2015 they lost to the Cubs, and then everything went downhill from there. Mo was not bad at the start. That's one of the best eras of Cardinals baseball was under John Mozeliak's leadership. Since then, though, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and 23, and now 24, that's 9 seasons, has not been the same. So, and that's completely fair to critique that. I just don't like when people say, oh, Mo hasn't done anything. Mo's been bad the whole time. It's like, that's crazy. That it is to say that 2011 and 2015 to not give him credit for it. First of all, is crazy, and then to say that's not been like an incredible stretch. You won a World Series, you went to 3 NLCS, you won more playoff games than any other team in baseball, and you played in more playoff games than any other team in baseball because you kept going deep in October. That was great, but that doesn't excuse the last 9 years.
Can I question one thing though?
Yeah.
Did Mo not take over a team with 2 first ballot Hall of Famers? Just like on the roster already.
Which oh, yeah, but Yachty 2011 wasn't like prime Yachty yet, though. You did have prime Pujols. So I mean, you had those guys, but he also was a part of the organization that built those guys too. So it wasn't like
That's
just
fair.
Walt Jockey makes those moves, but then also like who's the guy that went and got Lance Berkman, Carlos Beltran, that helped build up a farm system that consistently pumped out guys like Shelby Miller, Michael Waka, Carlos Martinez, Matt Carper. Like they were from 2011 to 2015, they were like the class of player development. All these things that we're hoping Heim Bloom can do. That's what Mo did for so long and did a really good job of it. And then it fell off. So I'm not like, this is not meant to be a whole Mo's water masterclass here thing. I just don't like when people discount. You're about to click the button. Don't click the button. I just don't like when people say that it didn't count. And sure, you had Albert Pujols, but how many teams like Andrew? We just saw the Angels never make the playoffs with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but that's like one extremely incompetent
but we
organization.
can
Like
talk
you look at other teams with that level of talent on there, and they were consistently playoff contenders. I feel like.
playoff contenders, but going to the NLCS 4
Mm,
straight years and winning
yeah.
the World Series, there's a lot of teams that never even sniff that. So I agree, it's fair, but anyways, and people are already. I mean, people anytime I say anything good about Mo want to act like I'm whatever, but my point was there was one comment saying he was never been good. That's not true. The last 9 years have not been good enough. It's unacceptable, right? He needs to go. It's just time. So I just don't. Anyways, I think it's oh my gosh, some of these comments coming through. Whatever. All right, I guess don't like winning baseball. I guess that's fine. Uh, crazy. I just don't. I know when you don't like someone, no one wants to give them credit, but it's just crazy that people can't give Mo credit for 2011, 2015. It's just insane. That's insane. And I don't even need to debate it. It's just insane. But the
No,
Ollie,
I think it's fair. I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate and being like,
looking at the chat, I'm like, that's just some of
yeah,
these is insane.
no,
Right.
that's fair.
But the most are the Ollie stuff. I personally, I don't, I if he gets fired and let go, totally understand. So I'm not saying it shouldn't. Um, I personally like Ollie, and I think you look at the mess they've been in this year and the mess they were in last year, and I do think I look at it as I think he's done a good job with it. He's made mistakes though. He certainly has. I don't think he's a perfect manager.
Right.
So and
I mean, I
so
don't
and
think Ollie schedules for Goldie to ground out into double play when the bases are loaded. Do
yeah,
I think you
and
should maybe bat him lower every day? Yeah, sure. But like, I don't know. What's Lars Nootbaar going to give you betting over him? Probably not that much more.
yeah. Also too, like the Turner Ward thing that we all talk about too, like what do you like? He's apparently he's Arenado and Goldschmidt's guy. So like that's
Well, guess
not
what? Guess what, Arnaud and Goldschmidt? You should
uh,
have your OPS plus over like 110. You
agreed.
know,
But my
like
point with that is like it's not like all I don't think Ollie can just out Turner Ward. Like that's a bigger
right.
decision than him when he's the guy of
I think that's a
Nado
no.
and
That's a
Goldschmidt.
no.
Yeah. So like there's stuff that I think people point at Ollie sometimes that I don't think is really his fault. But my point, I just want to say, like, I don't personally don't think he should be, but I totally understand the viewpoint that people don't want. Like, if people want him to go, sure, that's fine. Personally, I think it's like putting it. If you fired Ollie right now, it's like trying. Bernie Miklasz made this analogy on a recent video that it's like giving a new coat of paint to a house that like is like in shambles. It's like
Right. I mean,
sure, like I mean, maybe that helped, but like right now it's not gonna do anything. But this offseason, if they want to make that change, I wouldn't blame them. As you sit right now, do you think Ollie needs to go? Like, do they need a fresh, even if he's not at fault, do they need fresh leadership in that seat? Or do you want Ollie to stay? Where are you at with Ollie?
might light the fire under the players that they need to like finish the season strong, but like at this point, like what happens? What does finishing the season strong look like? Sneak in the wild card, like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like what are you gonna do against the Brewers or the Dodgers or the whoever like you end up facing? Like it's not gonna like I don't like I guess we're gonna see this week, right? Like we'll see what happens against the Dodgers. We'll see what happens against the Brewers. And like we're not even facing their best competition. Actually, I think Glasnow's pitching on Friday. I take it back. So that'll be fun for you, I guess. Maybe you should come down,
Woo!
use code news on SeatGeek like I did. But anyway, I think. I mean, one thing I do want to discuss is the whole Jordan Walker situation.
Yeah.
I want to know like what is going on, and like that
Couldn't
will
tell
kind
you.
of change my opinion on a lot of the individuals in this organization. Because if Ollie's the one who's telling like Jordan Walker that he's sitting half the time after he got called up, I really don't like that. I feel like that's pretty egregious, and I don't know if it's a fireable offense, but like compared to everything else that's been going on this season, I would be kind of fed up with it and kind of maybe done with Ollie. Like if that's his decision, I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think that's a higher up decision that's being made because I don't think like Ollie's a smart guy and he can look at the splits. And if you think he's playing with his spreadsheets, then he knows that Jordan Walker has kind of reverse splits. Like they're kind of like I don't know what's going on. Like it's really annoying. And if he's the one who's responsible for that horrible decision that's being made, I mean, it pushes me a little bit closer to the fire Ollie side, but not really. Like it's not like Ollie sitting Jordan Walker would not be what's losing us these games. Like that's just not.
Yeah. And even if Jordan Walker played tonight, it's not like they win that game, but it's still
And he did
crazy.
play.
Like,
He came into pinch hit and he like popped out.
but
So
like, I mean, if he starts that game, like, I don't think it changes the
right.
game. But that's not the point. It still is a weird and awful decision making. It feels like, and he's better against righties, so it's just like, what? I don't understand this. And Tommy Pham is not great against righties. Like, why is Tommy Pham playing? I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I honestly don't know why. Like, I don't understand it. If it's, I think there's three routes. One, they for some reason believe that, um, which they've kind of said this that Ollie said it today. Like, there's not a lot of playing time left in Memphis this year, so it's not like they're having him come off the bench for a full season. It's a couple weeks and of the Memphis season, so like he's not missing out on a ton of playing time. Um, so I guess there's that route. There's the route that, or how do I mean? I just don't know. I'm trying to explain it and I don't get it. I just don't understand it. It just feels foolish, and maybe they think Fam gives them a better chance to win in games. Like,
But
and
like
so
why? What does
I
he
don't.
bring?
Well, I think for them, like, I don't think Mo is trying to, like, save his job right now or anything, but, like, maybe Ollie might be feeling that. Like, Ollie might be like, "I need to play whatever lineup I think is gonna play best, even if other people disagree with it because I gotta win games." He might be feeling that. Managers will do weird stuff when they feel like their job's on the line. So, I don't know. That could be it. I this Walker stuff's crazy to me. I don't get why you call him up. If you're gonna do this, if when they called him up and said platoon player, I was kind of like, like let's pause because they said that about Fam and Fam plays all the time now. Well, they've really done that the Walker thing so far. So yeah, like Rippey said, like 31 home runs in Memphis right now from Luke and Baker, and he's a 403 batting average against left-handed pitching. Like if you just wanted a platoon guy, you should have had Luke and Baker be the guy come up. Like I don't I don't understand it. Or not Sajc, but maybe like or I guess Sajc. Like Walker does not seem to be the guy to fit that role. That was just it's just
Walker's numbers are just like not even like it doesn't even make sense. Like I don't know.
yeah. I mean, he had that hot stretch and he was doing what they wanted him to do.
No, like I'm saying, like against lefties, like he's not even that good against lefties.
Yeah,
he's better against righties. And,
I don't know. Well, he is like even if he's not that good, he is substantially better than Burleson and Nootbaar and Gorman are against lefties. So like there is improvement, but yeah, it's weird that he would sit against the play or the handedness of pitcher that he's actually good against, and then I don't get it. Yeah, the Walker stuff's weird, and I do agree. Like it would change my opinion on Ollie some if that's like a totally Ollie call, but I kind of doubt it. Like Ollie's always seemed to be a big fan of Walker, so like it kind of I don't know. It's just weird. But he's also a big fan of Fam, so like I don't know. This whole thing's it's making my mind want to melt. It's just so weird. Are you feeling like Walker? Are you worried about Walker?
Developmentally, yeah. If you're not going to play, like we don't face that many lefties. Like it's maybe like once every like 3 to 4 days. Like
yeah,
I don't think that it makes sense to like just let him sit in AAA and then have him as one of the September call-ups if that's what you're going to do, right? And
yeah,
like it was because Carpenter went. I'm honestly, I don't think Carpenter's hurt. I think they just faked it. Like I don't know. Like he looked fine the other last time he played or whatever like injury they made up. It seemed like they just wanted Walker up because he was having a hot stretch in AAA. Like that's how I interpreted it. But I guess maybe Carpenter really is hurt, and I don't know. Like, I just felt like they were trying to force a way for a Walker onto the roster and trying to be aggressive because they were kind of like scuffling. And no, it just seemed like maybe they just needed another guy to hit lefties, and like they decided it was Jordan Walker. Like that seems really, really careless of them for them to like just take their like former top prospect. And it seems like another mishandling, and it's going to be like a Carlson, O'Neill, whatever, like you name it kind of situation. And then like, I don't like that at all.
Yep, I agree. So, I just saw this on Twitter. So, 2021 to 2022, when Jeff Albert was here, the Cardinals ranked 11th in runs scored. Since the start of last season, the Cardinals ranked 24th in runs scored. So,
thanks, Sandy. Or
thanks,
should I
Sandy.
say, fire Jeff Albert.
Thanks, the fire Jeff Albert crew, because that clearly just wasn't the right call, but that's fine. I mean, also Jeff Albert needs to like realize part of the job is people are going to criticize you. But I don't even think we really need to talk about the Turner Ward stuff, other than that we just both agree, like fire him. I don't. It's just too. And like honestly, he could be like. I'm not saying he's probably a good guy. I'm not saying he's bad at his. I'm not necessarily saying he's bad at his job. I don't know, but like when the results are this bad, you have to go. They just do. It's 2 straight years of this. Like you got.
Well, the lineup, like with a lineup with 2 future Hall of Famers that are like supposedly like towards the end of their prime, like
yeah.
I don't know.
But then also like Gorm's regressing, Donovan's regressing, Nootbaar's regressing, Walker's regressing. Like your veterans and your young players can't hit. Like that's a huge issue. So yeah, he needs to be let go. No one really wants to go to the ballpark to watch the Cardinals right now. But if you want to go to watch like the Dodgers play them this weekend, you want to watch Shohei because that's a reason to go to the ballpark. Watch Shohei Ohtani. Or maybe you're holding out hope the Cardinals will do something. Maybe, or maybe you want to see if Walker can turn it around. If you want to go to the Busch Stadium, or if you want to go to a concert, other sporting events this year, use our code NewtNews on SeatGeek. It gets you $20 off, $50 more purchases. So it has to be your first time buying at SeatGeek. But again, we all love to save money, right? And If you're going to a game with some friends or going to a concert with some friends, it's a great way to save money and be able to go do something fun. Again, SeatGeek does all kinds of things. And also it's not like buying from the Cardinals straight up. So if you're not wanting to support the DeWitts, you can still go to the game and not necessarily be paying into their pockets. So if that's how you want to play it, go to SeatGeek instead. Third-party apps. Yeah, use code NEWT to save $20 off your purchase. And you can go to concerts, you can go to St. Louis FC if you want to watch a different St. Louis sport, if you want to go to a Mizzou
or like in
football
last place.
game.
But you know what? We don't care about that.
Wait, the FC is?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well,
Yeah.
sorry.
And they fired their manager though. They fired their Oli.
They fired their Oli. Well, maybe the St. Louis Blues, when they come back, maybe they'll have a fun season. Also, if you guys haven't watched Note News before, our Blues affiliated podcast, they had a hilarious episode recently that is just worth watching. So they got good stuff. So anyways, yeah, use our code NEWT on SeatGeek to save $20 on your next purchase. Okay, so yeah, I think we all agree Turner Ward needs to go. I think most of us agree Oli needs, or not. Let me back up. Most of us agree that John Mozeliak needs to go. I don't think he's gonna be fired. I think he's gonna move into a different role. I think it's Heim Bloom. I don't think either of us want Oli to go, but I think we both would understand if that happens. And I definitely can see the argument for fresh, just clean house across the board. Here's the question I think is worth maybe the rest of our time. And then also, if you guys have questions or things you want us to address, please put in the chat. Super chats are super helpful. There's a lot of action here tonight. Again, we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. So if you can like the stream, it helps us out a ton. Subscribe if it's your first time. But yeah, super chats are
Josh might need
easy
to
way
go
to see
as
stuff.
Mo's water holder. He said Mo needs to go like 7 times tonight. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe I get cleared house too.
Yeah.
Give Bloom his flowers. We'll be doing that soon. But what do they like? What players need to go?
Goldie.
Yeah, agreed.
Do not extend him.
Yeah, extending him would be a huge mistake. Unless even so, I think a change of scenery is probably good for everyone. If he's willing to take a reduced role where he is literally like the Matt Carpenter of the role of the team, where he's going to be like left-handed, like he'd be platooning against left-handed pitching. Sure, I don't care if you're paying them nothing.
Pinch hit for him with runners in scoring position. I don't care who's on the mound. Like it could be like a position player on the mound, and that doesn't matter.
But yeah, it has to be like a small contract. Like that's the only reason. But assuming that's not going to happen, because I think he'll have opportunities elsewhere, and I don't think he's going to want that. Mo should be gone. Or Mo, geez, keep saying Mo. You're right. My Mo's holder.
Like this is.
Yeah, I'm not going to get my Arby's gift cards anymore from the DeWitts.
Maybe don't extend Josh. Is your contract up?
That would be a funny bit to do on Twitter, to be like the Cardinals have announced they're parting ways with Josh after he stops holding their water. But okay, so yeah, Goldie, I think we probably got to let him go. We'll get to the Nato stuff in a minute, but how about like Gibson and Lynn? Do you pick up either option at this point?
Maybe Gibson, not Lynn.
Yeah, definitely not Lynn. I agree.
I think Gibson could be fine. Like, I don't know. He hasn't really been the problem. Today's start was bad, but it seems reactionary to just be like, oh no.
Yeah, I feel like the dollar amount's really not crazy at all for what you get out of him. So but since they already have Michaelis locked in, they've got Sonny Gray.
Can we lock him up for like gambling or something? Like, I don't know. Like just like
Miles Michaelis.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Jeez.
Like Ipe.
Gosh. Anyway. I mean, I think there's hope you can move the Mats contract. I don't think that's impossible. It's only 12.5. That's about, I mean, I don't know what you get on the market. It's probably a little bit less than that. But again, free agent pitchers get about 10 million in deals. Like Frankie Montas got like 15. Obviously, I'd pay more for Frankie Montas than Steven Matz. But like, anyways, I think he can get some money. So I think you can move Matz for literally, you wouldn't be getting anything in return. You probably eat a little bit of money. But like, you look at the rotation next year, it's Gray, it's Michaelis, Palante. That's 3. So you could bring back Gibson and have a 5th spot available, or you can acquire a guy in the offseason. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream. Really appreciate it. There's some comments about that. Also, again, if there's specific things you want us to address, let us know in the chat. Super chats are a helpful way for us to be able to see that, and it helps support the channel too. But I think definitely agree with you on Lynn. No. Gibson, I want to see the rest of the year. Right now, I think if you ask me today, if they're going more toward youth movement, I would say no, because you can give more opportunities to McGreevy, Graceffo, Kaufenstein, Robersa. Like you just get all these guys can get chances. Liberatore. But if not, Like if you're trying to win, I want to see a little bit more because I think that dollar. And honestly, what you could even do, kind of shrewd, you could I get Lynn. Don't pick up his option. Don't do it. But you could pick up Gibson's option and trade him. Like I think he has some. I think he'd have a little bit of value. So 1-year deal for someone like that, like I think so. I think you could do something like
Yeah,
that. But
maybe. Like, I'm cutting bait with Helsley at the end of the season.
okay, so you're trading Helsley in the offseason. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I probably agree. Unless you make him a starter, but I don't think they'd
No,
do that.
that's why would you do that with like 1 year of control F? That's weird.
We can see what happens.
Hicks
But
didn't even pan out. Like you look at what happened towards the end of the season. Didn't
yeah.
work.
Well, if I'm keeping Helsley for next year, I'm extending him this offseason too.
Okay.
That's a part of it. So I wouldn't keep him just to like finish out the contract. It'd be
Yeah.
extend him or trade him. Would you consider extending Helsley, or would you just trade him
No,
straight up?
I think he could get like a smaller version of like the Edwin Diaz or Josh Hader contract
Agreed.
on the open market. And I just like relievers are too easy to come by and too volatile that like you're not going to get a Helsley, but you're not going to get like you can find a guy to not be like terrible in that role. You know, like
That's true.
I mean, I'm going to say that next year
Yeah.
we're going to have Jojo Romero closing games and he's going to be awful. And it's
Well, also like relievers are the most volatile position. Like, who's to say Helsley's going to keep being good going forward? I think he will be, but like, fair
get hurt.
question though from Blind Justice. Are we sad at this point that Helsley wasn't traded at the deadline?
Depends on what you could have got for him. Because I think some of those like top tier pieces, people are kind of like over asking for them, like Crochet and
Yeah.
Screwball, and like none of those like big guys got moved. I mean, we got Fedde for nothing.
Yeah.
And,
I don't.
but like I think the fact that it ended so anticlimactically and so quickly.
Yeah.
Because what the trade deadline was like 2 weeks ago, and we were so excited, and now we're
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's over. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not fully convinced that a team would have given because like people were like saying, oh, because these relievers got these kind of prospects, that means Helsley can get you this kind of prospect. I'm not actually convinced teams are going to pay that high. Like I think they were more willing to overpay for the tiers below him than to overpay for his tier of reliever. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Like I mean, some of even the rejected Mason Miller asking prices, I'm like, to me, that kind of made sense for a guy with 6 years of control. So like Helsley with 1 year control, like I don't know. So I'm not sad they didn't move him because I don't know what it is, and because I get why they went in. Like I think they were like it made sense like to be a buyer. But yeah, obviously it sucked. Now here's part of the reason why I'm not upset because it's not like the Angels where they could have traded away Otani and rebuilt at the deadline, and instead of rebuilding and going to the rebuild, they traded everything away to try and go all in on that year, and then it failed. The Cardinals didn't do
And they
that.
didn't even offer Otani a viable extension.
Yeah, like that's horrible. If the Cardinals had to try to go all in at this deadline and then they fell apart, then I'd been mad. Like even with Fedde not looking great so far, like that's a $7.5 million for even if he's a 3-4 starter, like
You
giving up
trade him.
Edmund. Yeah, you could trade him, but also like you give up Edmund for that. I'm not like it's fine to me. I thought that was a good. I still think it's a good trade because it's actually more about 2025 than he's even is this year. And then the Carlson trade, I mean, he had no value, so like I'm not gonna be upset about that.
He's a 970 OPS with Tampa Bay.
I will say though, when that graphic was posted, he only had like 20 plate appearances, so it's like,
But then he homered again after that.
oh great. Well, yeah, trade for Alcantara, that could be fun. Okay, so I think I agree. You trade Helsley probably. You don't re-sign Goldie. You decline Lynn's option. So that's 3 guys we for sure think should be gone. Gibson, TBD on the rest of the year. Could even trade him if you picked up his option. Okay, what about Arenado?
I mean, yeah, sure. Heim Bloom, go take trade another Hall of Famer. Honestly, if you get like even half of the return the Red Sox got for that was like Verdugo.
Yeah,
Sure.
you take that. Also,
Why not?
especially if some team would be willing to take on all of his money. Honestly, that would be fine to me. Like, I wouldn't even want anything in return. If someone just took his contract, I'd be like, okay, have him. Like, that's fine.
If you traded him for like Dylan Carlson.
The Rays are never.
No, not the
taking on-
Rays, but like something like that. Like
They trade him
someone
for
you
Lane
know is
Thomas.
awful. Trade him to like
Oh.
I don't know who's some like awful player that like doesn't like Trade him to the Tigers but he's too expensive. I don't know.
So here's Ganado's contract, 32 million next year. But actually, so it's more like 27 million because the Rockies are paying down. So 27 million for the Cardinals are paying in 2025, 22 million in 2026, and only 15 in 2027. So I actually don't think it's like that
Trade
crazy.
Arenado and Mo back to the Rockies, and both of them
gosh.
get a farewell Pujols speech.
Farewell Bulls speech. I actually don't think, the more I look at it, like 27 million is like, it's not a good contract, but that's not crazy. Like it's not it's not like he's got 5 years, $35 million remaining each year, you know? So it's 27, 22, 15. I think that's movable. You might have to eat some of it, but I don't think it'd be crazy to move. Yeah, I think I move Nato too if you're really trying to, because also you can, like, if you could spend that $35 million elsewhere, that'd be huge at this point, right? Like, I don't, like, you got guys, you've got Gorm, Newbar, and Donovan all hitting arbitration this year. It's like, even with and you've Gray's contract going up 15 million from 10 to 25 million. So that Goldie money coming off the books basically gets eaten by Gray's contract going up and arbitration stuff. Again, you can save money. You can save about 20 something million by not picking up Lyndon Gibson's options. You can save another 10 or so by getting rid of Matt. So there's ways to make money there. But then again, the biggest significant chunk you can take out is by getting rid of Arenado. So I agree. I think if you're
get a speech,
what do you mean a speech?
Like Pujols did. Does he get to like give a speech?
No, because there's no way they announced that during the I mean, I guess they could.
I mean, on the last day?
I think they would. No, I don't.
Like special ceremony for Mo.
He gets booed at everything. They know that's not going to work. They would wait till the red card. They would wait till his red jacket when he makes the Cardinal Hall of Fame. They're not doing that now.
I would be there for his speech. I would go just for his speech.
That's true. But like, also, I don't think he's leaving the organization. I think he's going to move into a different role. I don't think you announce. I don't think you do.
Well, Yachty was supposed to move into a different role when he got
okay, that was agreed after he retired, though, and a year after too. So, I don't know. They're not going to do that for him. I think it'd be like after the season they'll announce some of this stuff. I don't think they would say it in September, but maybe they'll allude to it. But okay, so Goldie gone, Nato should be gone. Lynn Gibson gone, probably Gibson. Helsley gone. Anyone else? Like any of the young bats? Like, is it time to shake it up and move on from a Newbar or Gorman?
I think Newbar maybe because he still has some value. I feel like Gorman, if he breaks the strikeout rate record, he's not going to have that much value.
Yeah,
I don't know. Gorman seems like, I don't know. It's Burleson.
You trade Burleson? Oh, okay. That is an interesting theory. I don't think you do it, but that's interesting.
Just with the pattern, you know?
Yeah, you trade the guys before they go bad. That's fair.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know. Win. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Not with Win.
I think like the problem, I kind of agree with the Gorman new, but then I'm gonna say this, but then I'm gonna realize you fall into the same pattern. If you trade Gorman and Newbar, it's like, well, you're selling low, but it's like, okay, well, they always don't trade the guy that's like more valuable, and then they end up getting worse. So it's like, well, maybe it is you trade Burleson, like you said, and you trade Win now because it's like he's got highest value. You don't actually do that. Don't clip that.
And Burleson maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
I don't know his stuff. I think
you convert him to a pitcher, and let's see what's going on.
Yeah, I do not trade Alec Burleson, but yeah, I think you should be willing to move Gorman and Newbar, but I'm not going to say definitively move Gorman or move Newbar because I'm not like dumping them. I think if you're not getting adequate value, then I think you hold on to them at this point because they're not at their highest value. So like if Gorman's value right now is gonna, like, if the trade came through and it's something you and I'd be like, what? Why do it? Like, just hold on to him because it can't get much worse than that, right? Like, so I think it's different if you think it's like, oh, he's definitely going to deteriorate. Let's sell high or sell whatever the value is now. But
yeah, we didn't think Gorman was going to fall off, but look at us now.
Yeah, it's true. So, and again, like, I also am baking in, like, if there's leadership changes, like, I don't know, maybe some of these guys can fix some of these guys, and they're young, like they're entering their first year of arbitration. So like with New and Gorm, and Donovan. Okay, so Cody said Contreras, do you trade? Also, I think it's fair. Do you trade Sonny Gray? Maybe. I think you
maybe Contreras. I don't know if I would trade Gray. I don't know how much value he has. Like maybe it's bad value. Yeah. There's
I
just
think
so much
you're.
money though on year 3.
Yeah, I think
Also, Ivan Herrera, please. Like, he's not hurt anymore, please. Mo.
is he officially not hurt anymore?
He was in the Memphis lineup today.
Okay, yeah, then call him up. Yeah, for sure. I think Contreras, I'd be a little bit hesitant to trade because I think you want some good personalities on the roster to help like turn over the youth movement side of things. And with Gray too, he could be a great mentor to young pitchers. If you're gonna spend the money, spend it somewhere, right? So like, I think both of them again, you're open to offers. Like if someone's gonna blow you away for one of them, sure. But I'd actually probably see more value in Contreras being one of the leaders on this lineup alongside like a Brendan Donovan. Like those would two be my two leaders to lead the young core or whatever the new core is. I don't even know who it would be. And then have Sonny Gray be a guy that can pour into a Tink Hence. I can't believe I just said that because I was just talking to someone on Twitter about pour into is kind of a weird saying, but like to like mentor a Tink Hence, a Quinn Matthews, and Andre Palante, those type of guys.
Or just like maybe sign an exciting player. Like, I don't know if like, I don't know. Juan Soto's not going to happen, but like
Max Fried.
Corbin Burns, like Pete Alonso and Stubby Clapp. I don't know. Like
Burley and Pete Alonso, middle of the lineup. Oh, man.
I don't really like Pete Alonso. Juan Soto would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
But
also, someone said more players, less mentors. True, but I'm not saying like keep Gray around like he's Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, right? Like he's a different tier of player. I
would pay to watch Kyle Hendricks pitch in Memphis. Just send him down for the whole year. Cody.
That's like, true. So he doesn't pitch against the Cardinals ever.
Just send him to Memphis. Just like you're not.
Oh wow, Judge, fastest player ever to reach 300 home runs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But like I'd much rather to Huervo's comment. I think that's how you say it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I'd rather be paying good players who are also mentors, like Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado apparently can't carry the leadership mantle, and so they need also Matt Carpenter and Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson and Brandon Crawford to do it. But like Sonny Gray is a guy that can lead and be a good player. That's the kind of veteran I want to invest in. Same with
why are we signing Paul Goldschmidt in the Brandon Crawford role when we know that already he can't be a good veteran leader because he needed like 6 other guys? Like, why are we doing that? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's fair. Well, I mean, in my head, if I'm re-signing Goldie for that role, it's not to be not to be like a veteran leader. It's to be a platoon bat. Like, it's for the offense, not for, which is weird to say with him. And then Contreras too. I think he can lead by example. He's a vocal guy. I think he's a good guy to have in the clubhouse. So. Also true. I don't want to advocate blind justice to keep getting 34-year-old plus dudes. That's true. Heim Bloom went out and got like Trevor Story, which was bad. But like, again, he spent one of those big free agent shortstops. He went toward the lower tier of it though. There's a couple other bigger moves he made. Like he went he made that big signing for the Japanese bat DH.
Yoshida. That was terrible.
Yeah. Oh, he's been pretty good this year though.
But
people actually kind of like the deal now. True. But like he's gone after players I don't see the Cardinals ever going after.
Roki Sasaki, basically free. He'll sell jerseys and he'll be free.
Yeah, not that it's gonna happen, but I think that's the only like it's kind of like Yamamoto where it's super unreal. It's super low potential, but you never know. That could be interesting if they could get Sasaki, but I doubt it. So
yeah, he's going to the Dodgers, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, let's see. I can see youth movement happening next year. I don't think they go full rebuild though. Like I don't think they're gonna trade away everyone, right? They have enough young talent in this roster that's already like again, like it's like you trade away Goldschmidt or Arenado. It's not like you're losing much production there. You're already kind of relying on the young guys anyways. So I think you could potentially even get better next year while doing some of this stuff, right? Like I mean, take the Boston Red Sox for example. They just had a weird offseason and they're a pretty darn good team this year. The Kansas City Royals, like they went out and made the Seth Lugo signings and Michael Wacha signings and stuff like that. Obviously, Bobby Witt's been incredible this year, so that's a huge part of it. But like the Cardinals can do a better retool than what they did this past off season under new leadership. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, there's a lot of bleak stuff right now. It'll be hard. It's a lot of speculation until we actually see what happens. But I guess real quick. What do you think the Dodgers series? Think they get swept at this point?
Hey, tank for a draft pick, Kareem. Who are we getting first overall next year? Right?
Ethan Holiday, number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance Cleveland did it with like a winning record last year, so we could.
That's true. So, guys, hey, chat, we get to think about the 2025
Hey,
MLB
we get to
draft.
have a big draft stream event now with Kareem next year. Like, if we were picking 20th,
Again,
then we probably wouldn't be doing that. But now Kareem, you're invited to our draft stream next year.
Jamie Arnold. Also, think about like the Red Sox, like they've picked pretty high with Heim Bloom a few times. Like, I don't know, maybe you go get your Marcelo Mayer, maybe you go get your Kyle Teal. Maybe, I mean, you just got JJ, so like that was great. So I don't know, maybe you do tank it, get a top 5 pick.
Hey, maybe there's
That could be kind of
another
fun.
two-way guy out there like Caglion, who is 1 point higher than Weatherholt on there, which I will say on MLB's top 100. He's like 18th, I think.
If anyone's seen all these quotes after the game, I have not seen it yet. So if there's something that you think is, or I see one right now. They took some really good swings, the Reds. It was more than enough. You don't want to get swept here in Cincy, I'll tell you that. But as far as giving in, that's not an option. So I don't know if there's more. But yeah, Kareem, I kind of agree. Like at this point, if they're gonna be bad, I kind of want them to just be bad and get a higher draft pick. And
Shohei Ohtani has homered against 29 out of the 30 teams. Can you guess which one he hasn't homered against?
The Cardinals.
Hang the banner.
Hang the banner.
Before it's too late.
That's true.
It will not be that case anymore after this weekend.
It would be kind of funny if they get swept, but then like people are like, but the Ohtani still hasn't homered against them. It's like that's the one claim to fame we have from this series. Oh man.
Wait
well,
until next year. Oh man.
I think we're starting to wrap it up. If there's any last thoughts or questions in here, let us know.
Kareem, if they actually do take this Jamie Arnold guy, then I think we have to take a collective deal in the cards trip to Vegas and just gamble all of our money and
is he a two-way player?
Sign two-way player in like 5 years.
Oh wow. Oh, there you go. Oh man. Yeah, over under Ohtani home runs this weekend 3. I'll take the under, but
I got right field bleachers. I'm trying to catch the homer, so
wild. Again, it's super appreciate the support tonight. I mean, it was a terrible game. It's a terrible time to be a Cardinal fan, it feels like, but always appreciate the support on this. And I mean, we do this because we love it, but we also love the interaction with you guys, and you guys make it possible. And so we really appreciate it. So hopefully you'll continue to tune in down the stretch, assuming the Cardinals are going to suck, and we can continue to talk about what's next. And I think even when there's bad baseball, there's still stuff to glean from it. And I still love watching baseball, right? Like I love this game, and I still love the Cardinals. I'm still going to watch it. It's just frustrating, and I believe it'll get better one day, but that it's going to take some time. Yeah, we are missing Sandy tonight, so we miss Sandy. Hopefully, he'll be back soon. Yeah, it does suck. I'm still
Sandy
hopeful.
told me the other day, Kareem. He said, "quote I don't like any of the players on this team right now. Trade everyone except John King."
Except John King. I cannot believe he just advocated trade Mason Wynn. That's wild. So appreciate all the support. Again, someone just said, what about Roki? Again, it's pretty unlikely because I would guess he probably signs with the Dodgers for nothing, but because he can sign anywhere and everyone can offer him the same contract. So I don't know why that he would come to St. Louis, but who knows? Sandy spit, not gonna lie about John King. Thanks, Blind Justice, for joining in. If subscribe if it's your first time and you enjoy it, we do this twice a week, Mondays or Sundays and Wednesdays, and we do some other episodes sometimes too. And we have guests on too, like we had Bernie on recently. We'll probably have some other people on soon. It's a fun time. Kareem comes on. It's good. So, yeah, well, I'm ready for a bloodbath on Sunday. What would be there? They'd be, you had to be 8 straight losses. It matched. Did it? Yeah,
no, it'd be
matched.
7 straight, I think.
Would it? Because they lost the Royals.
They lost to Kansas City. They got swept in 3. And then
yeah. I was thinking it was a 4-game against the Dodgers. I'm dumb. Really bad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It could be a one more. Oh, okay. Give me a final projection on the season's final record. Oh, gosh. Okay.
60 and 102.
60 and 102. Jeez. Okay. So they're 60 and 61 right now. So how many games left is that?
51. No.
51.
No, that's not right. 41.
41. They have 60 wins right now. I'll say 74 wins at least. No,
74
more than that.
Low.
Yeah, I'll say 78.
But they have a tough schedule.
Yeah, I'll say 78
I'll go
wins.
with like 76. I like Kareem's thing.
I'll go 78 and 84. That's what I'll
Yeah.
say at this rate. So, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I could see it being lower because of how tough this guy. Because they could just totally get wiped the rest of the month. Like it could be bad, and then
Yeah.
like September rolls around and they roll over more, right?
Yeah.
So I could see it being low 70s, but it would be tough. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, appreciate the kind words, Canelio. Channel membership. Yeah. I mean, we got some fun channel members in here too. And if you're interested in being part of our membership program, you can go on our YouTube. You go on the browser version is the easiest way to find it. Once you're subbed to the channel, you can do that channel membership. We have a private Discord, which is fun to talk baseball in there. And we'll do some more fun stuff in September because Cardinal games itself are not that fun anymore. So, again,
There's
appreciate
some
the
good
support.
promo items. There's like bobbleheads and stuff. Use code SeatGeek so
Yeah.
Dewitt doesn't get any of it.
Yeah. Seriously, the SeatGeek code helps us out a ton. Again, check out 314 Sports Cards Collectibles. It's liking and subscribing and sharing the videos helping a ton. There's a lot of ways to support the channel if you enjoy what we do. And we just appreciate you watching today. So really appreciate that. Thanks all for hanging out. Yeah, I mean, we'll be back Sunday. I mean, I would love for it to be for base. I mean, for as much as doom and gloom we did today, I'd love for it to turn around. I just don't believe it. So we'll see though. Who knows?
Wouldn't it be fun
Maybe
if we swept the Dodgers?
I don't know what the podcast would look like on Sunday if they did, because
I don't, yeah.
I don't know.
I
What
don't
do you
think
like, what would real quick, if you're in here, I mean, we might be closing it before you say something, but like, what would you do if they swept the Dodgers this weekend if you're in the chat? Like, does it give you any hope, or are you just kind of like, I don't care? Like, I
I
think
feel like
I'd be
if you
like,
sweep a team, you should be able to steal one of their players. No, I'm kidding.
so who would the Reds have stolen from the Cardinals?
Probably like Wilson Contreras.
Oh yeah, actually that was an easy pick. Oh man. I think like the only thing it would do to me is it's like, well, I still want all these changes to happen after the season, but it's like, I mean, sure they're kind of in the race, but like that's kind of how I feel right now. So yeah. Anyways, it'd be fun, but yeah, I kind of think I do prefer them to lose
Yeah.
now if this is the direction they're going. So anyways, we'll it's yeah, a clock is right twice a day. A broken clock. Okay, we'll call it an episode from there. Really appreciate the support, everyone, tonight. Again, we'll be back on Sunday, probably after getting swept by the Dodgers. What a time to be alive. Hopefully 2023 and 2024 are the final two awful years in Cardinal baseball in this stretch, and then we got a new era to come. So thanks for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time.